Aloha, and welcome to Feast, Dish, and Dialogue, a podcast presented by the Hawaii Ag and Culinary Alliance, sharing conversations from the Feast Summit at the annual Hawaii Food and Wine Festival. Here, leaders across food, education, agriculture, sustainability, and tourism come together to explore the future of food systems and hospitality, and how culinary sits at the center of the visitor experience in Hawaii and beyond. In this Feast Dialogue episode, we bring you a dynamic panel on the business of dining, how culinary defines destinations, recorded live at the Feast Summit. Moderated by Sean D., Executive Vice President and Chief Commercial Officer of Outrigger Hospitality Group, and featuring panelists Serge Krivatsy, Alana Kobayashi-Pakala, Roy Yamaguchi, and Dylan Ching, this conversation brings together developers, hoteliers, and chefs to discuss how they create signature culinary experiences that define place, attract high-value visitors, and foster connections to local culture and agriculture. Pull up a seat and join the dialogue.
All right, we'll have our panelists come up and join me. I'll try to get out of the way and speak not too much, but I did have to make a couple comments. How many were able to attend the earlier session that we just had? Yeah, pretty powerful, right? So we got a tough act to follow, but I think we got the right group to do it with. Again, I'm Sean D. I'm with Outrigger Hospitality Group. I see some of my Outrigger colleagues in the audience supporting. They get a free lunch today, too, on us. I also wanted to acknowledge, I think it's Denise. Are you in the back, Denise? All right, there's Denise. So I did not get a 3:45 a.m. call like the Lieutenant Governor, so clearly I'm not as important. But I go way back with Denise. Denise and I met almost 20 years ago, I want to say, Denise, in Los Angeles when I was hosting the LA Food and Wine Festival with Wolfgang Puck. And I think you and Roy had come out to kind of take a look at that and see if you could get any insights from that festival. And truth be told, many, many years ago, in the first year of the original Roy's, my girlfriend at the time, not my wife, my girlfriend at the time had moved here to work at the medical center and said, hey, we got to check out this new restaurant. It's in a little bit of a mall out in Hawaii Kai. She was living on Liahi. I said, we're going to drive all the way out to this restaurant, and almost 30 years later, you're still going strong, Roy. So a lot of ties back to Denise and to Roy. So I'm super humbled, proud to be here, proud to be the moderator in this inaugural event. And the other thing for Denise is, Denise, you've been doing this for almost 15 years. You know, and a lot of people just kind of mail it in. Hey, I got a formula, I got a team, I got a brand. Every year, Denise adds something new, right? Within days of this festival, and this is my favorite festival, true story, favorite festival in Hawaii every year. I look forward to it this time of year. I still look forward to tomorrow night's event at the convention center. Within days of this event, Denise routinely will call me and say, what'd you think about the festival? What could we do different? What could we add to this festival? And I remember last year you said, we need to add a B2B component, right? We need to add a summit for the industry, and that summit is Feast. And I think, again, a testament to you always pushing, always innovating. If there's a takeaway for the people in the audience, just because you've done it successfully many years in a row, keep innovating, keep adding, right? And I think that's a lesson I learned from Denise all the time, and Roy, and also from the panelists this morning. So let's get to it. Our discussion today is the business of dining, how culinary defines destination and drives development. We've got four awesome panelists. Let me introduce them quickly. First, we have Serge Krivatsy. Serge is a development executive who specializes in integrating restaurants into major real estate and destination projects, increasing both their cultural impact and financial value for Kamehameha schools. So welcome, Serge. Next, we have Alana Kobayashi. You probably know that name. Pakala. Alana is a partner of the Kobayashi Group, where she incorporates culinary concepts into landmark developments that shape Hawaii's community, life, and skyline, more importantly. Next to Alana, we have the infamous Roy Yamaguchi. Roy, a celebrated chef, restaurateur, founding member of the Hawaii Regional Cuisine Movement and the Food and Wine Festival, chef and founder of many restaurants, just to name a few. As my daughter calls it, Dad, are we going to go to the original Roy's? Roy's Restaurant Hawaii, Roy's Beach House, Eating House 1849, and Humble Market Kitchen. A Culinary Institute graduate, Roy has earned the James Beard Award and numerous accolades, and today he serves as the director of the Culinary Institute of the Pacific at KCC and sits on multiple culinary and nonprofit boards. So great to have you, Roy. And lastly, we have my good friend Dylan Ching. Dylan is Vice President of TS Restaurants, overseeing iconic dining destinations such as Duke's, Kyoki's, Leilani's, Hula Grill, hopefully Kimo's again, right? They've become lasting part of visitors' memories in Hawaii, and full transparency, a great partner to Outrigger. Welcome, Dylan. So our first question, Serge, is for Serge. You've overseen projects where restaurants drive the value of the entire development. Can you share any examples where a dining concept transformed not just the property, but the way the people experienced the entire development and the destination itself?
Sure. It's kind of loud. A great example that I often think of is we've redeveloped an area in urban Honolulu called Kaka'ako. Former industrial neighborhood. We've got 9 blocks there. Old industrial buildings that we wanted to redevelop into a new community. And part of the driver there was we knew that in order to get people interested in living in the area, we needed to have the services and the food and beverage that create the energy for people to want to live there. And actually, we had developers lined up to build condominium towers and residential homes that said, hey, what are you guys doing to support this effort and give the people that are going to be living in our place something to do at night, someplace to eat, someplace to get their coffee, something that have a nice restaurant. And that's where Salt at our Kaka'ako came from, was envisioned. And it's basically a reposition of an older and renovation of an older industrial buildings into kind of a really eclectic mix of spaces, and it's mostly food and beverage. 21 F&B spaces in there. Anchors include like Moku Kitchen, which would serve 3 meals a day and serves the business crowd and anything from breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and pauhana afterwards. We also have Highway Inn there that's has like the Hawaiian aspect of the place, which serves more local dining than local customers. Probably 9 coffee shops, I lost track, which all do very, very well. They all have their own different niche. But what Salt at our Kaka'ako has done is created an energy through the F&B services that really serve the neighborhood and have livened the area that made people really want to live there. It made it very convenient for people to just kind of walk downstairs and go grab a cup of coffee, you go have a really nice dinner, nice meal, pauhana, go watch sports at Pitch Sports Bar. Things of that nature. So to us, it was, I can't say it's one restaurant in particular, but it was the whole collection of restaurants there that are a true driver for the neighborhood, and it's proven to be very, very successful. And in fact, it was a challenge for us because when we run the numbers and you look at doing it, it doesn't look like it's going to be financially that feasible, but it ends up really supporting the neighborhood, and it was a key driver for the neighborhood.
Yeah, congratulations. I mean, it's truly transformational what you've accomplished down there. And when we're recruiting people actually to come to Hawaii to work at Outrigger, oftentimes we take them to Salt, we take them to Kaka'ako because it's such a perfect place for young families to move to, singles, et cetera. So congratulations. Next question, I'm going to switch over to Alana. Alana, your family's developments have helped shape Honolulu's skyline. Looking ahead, how do you see the role of food and restaurants evolving within your developments, and what opportunities do you see to further strengthen the connection between culinary experiences and the way people live in Hawaii's urban environments?
No, thank you so much. When I think about looking into the future, I always start with reflecting on the past. And so when I think about our developments, 25 years ago, our company co-developed a private club resort called Kukio Golf and Beach Club on the Big Island. And there, really the restaurant was the extension of the home, right? These are primarily part-time residents. And thinking about how important that was and then how we learned so much through the evolution of it, seeing that we started off with fine dining and then started hearing from our residents that they want to eat there 5 to 10 times over a 2-week period. They need healthy, they want local, they want locally sourced ingredients, they want local dishes, they want sushi, they want to be reminded of the place that they're in. And so we learned a lot from that experience. And then I transitioned to thinking about our first high-rise that we completed in 2006, Hokua. And candidly, we approached it probably a little bit more as a retail mixed use. We had a little bit maybe more tenants in Panya and Tango, and we really saw how they were the connector of the community. When you're down in those restaurants, the residents are there, you're meeting there, they are really the backbone support to the success of those restaurants, and of course the public is the gravy on top. But and then also the way those restaurateurs really embraced that partnership and would do special things like really deliver food to the front desk so the staff could handle almost room service type arrangements have really been fantastic. And then as we think about the evolution, our two developments at Ala Moana Center, One Ala Moana and Park Lane, neither having restaurants per se integrated into them, but really seeing the way that buyers/residents were so appealed to the idea of living at Ala Moana, and mainly about being able to walk to enjoy food and beverage, and actually candidly also grocery. Foodland as an anchor was enormous for Park Lane Ala Moana, and not just an anonymous food delivery, but actually a connection with someone who's choosing those great ingredients and delivering them into your refrigerator was a huge selling point at Park Lane Ala Moana. And then as we're looking into the future, thank you to Kamehameha Schools and Serge, we had the honor of developing a site in Kaka'ako called Aliyah. And there, what we've really seen for the first time in our sales, we call it a lounge. Our sales lounge, we for the first time put in a full functioning residential kitchen with all of the appliances, everything working. And our sales team has really used it as a place to connect and really introduce both to our local residents and our national and international buyers to the great food scene that exists here. So we've been able to feature amazing chefs, really partners, in highlighting how amazing this place is. And we hear time and time again from our buyers, future owners, that especially in the last 5 to 10 years, how they've seen the food scene evolve in such a positive way, and how our international buyers look forward to coming here and enjoying certain culinary experiences. But even for us, we've been doing these events where we feature, we've done partnerships with Michelle and Wade at MW, with John Taube at formerly at Kaimana, with Chef Key at Bar Maze. The list goes on. And when we do that, our buyers feel more connected to the city, feel more connected to their home, and really, because fundamentally when you're selling real estate, you're selling Hawaii. You're selling this place that's our home. And so I think I just want to say thank you to all of you in the industry for moving it forward and making it such an incredible asset for the whole community.
Great. Thanks, Alana.
You're listening to Feast, Dish and Dialogue, conversations from the Feast Summit exploring how food, culture, and hospitality shape the visitor experience in Hawaii and beyond.
So we're going to pivot a little bit from the developers, right, to the heart of the kitchen, to the restaurateurs. So we're going to start with Roy. Roy, you're a little bit busy this week and last, right? But thanks for joining us, pinch hitting here. You've built a global restaurant empire, but can you tell us about the first concept where you realized food could be a destination in itself?
Okay, so I'm actually the pinch hitter for today. Unfortunately, Michael Mina can't be here. His father went into hospice, so our thoughts and prayers goes to Michael and his family. But anyways, when that happened, Denise goes, Roy, you gotta pinch hit. So here I am. So
you got the 345.
Yeah, I got the 345 wake-up call. Said, Roy, you got to be on stage today. So, anyways, what was the question? I'm sorry.
You can talk about anything you want, Roy. How's that? I think the script, and I usually don't stick to the script, is about the first concept where I think you believed really in food to define a destination.
Yeah. Well, so so we started Roy's at the original Roy's in Hawaii Kai 38 years ago. And my whole thing was that, I was in Los Angeles and I had a restaurant. It was called 385 North. And it was this restaurant that I dreamt of, and I opened it, and it was huge. And Make the long story short, within 4 years, I almost went bankrupt. And at the end of the day, sold it for 10 cents on the dollar, lost a lot of money, and I was like 20, I think when I started that restaurant, I was 26 years old. And at almost 29 years old, at almost 29 years old, or at 29 years old or whatever it was, almost bankrupt. But anyways, so when I came to Hawaii, well, my father's from Maui, and my cousin called me up because she's the realtor. Said there's a building in Hawaii Kai that I pass by every day when I go from Port Lock to downtown. You might want to take a look at it. So when I came out to take a look at that spot, I thought immediately it would be great for what I really wanted to do, and that was to have a destination restaurant rather than a restaurant that was located within footsteps from where everybody was working and all of that stuff. I thought it would be great to have someone drive and think about where they're going to go for that evening. So that's how I ended up picking that location for Roy's. Luckily it worked out. But to me, when we opened up Eating House 1849 in Kauai, and the shops at Kukui'ula, to me that was more of a, how can I say it, more of a thoughtful procedure of how I said to myself, okay, to put a restaurant inside of a shopping center where I thought people would really come to, because we would be a part of something that's more than just our restaurant. So we would be really part of, Hawaii Kai was community, but for Kukui'ula, it was more about a sense of place. And I really, because it was a very plantation-looking shopping center. So, I looked up, on the internet, and if you trust, Google. Is it Google? I think, yeah, this is Google, right? So anyways, I said to myself, who opened the first restaurant in Hawaii? And his name came up, and it was Peter Fernandez. So I went home and I told Denise, I said, hey, there's this guy named Peter Fernandez, and he was like the first guy that opened a restaurant in Hawaii. So I based the Eating House concept on that from 1849, based on the plantation and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why that restaurant kind of, I felt, really fit the sense of place. And so anyways, that's the Eating House in Kukui'ula. So Roy's was first, but then, I got to say that I think 1849 really did the trick. Sorry, it was, kind of long-winded, but.
Thanks, Roy.
Sorry.
I keep telling myself the original Roy's was opened 20 years ago, but 38 certainly puts it in perspective. Next question for our good friend Dylan Ching, TS Restaurants. TS has created iconic dining experiences from Duke's to Hula Grill, just to name a few. Can you give us a story where you saw firsthand how one of your restaurants became the most memorable part of a visitor's trip?
Yeah, thank you, Sean. Pretty hard when you got this kind of pinch hitter right here. That's a pretty good pinch hitter. But it's pretty nice to be able to sit next to Roy and share the stage. So thank you and everybody up here. Yeah, so many memories. I think, just in our mission statement, timeless memories is one of the key aspects of what we do. And I think our founders knew that. They had a really simple recipe, the best locations in communities, creating timeless memories and friendships. And they did that with a lost spirit. And I think that is the essence we keep going through. We're almost at 50 years now. So lots of memories being made throughout the years. Myself, stories I've heard. Really what our restaurants are based on are experience. I mean, we have, I think, really great food and beverage, but we have really great people, and we take care of them, and we create those experiences so that people think about, just as Roy mentioned, driving into a destination. We think people on a plane, or gonna celebrate an anniversary, they're thinking about the last time they were there and creating that memory. It's funny when I think about all the memories. One that came up recently that I thought was really, really heartfelt, was pretty amazing, was, as you mentioned, we lost chemos in the fire in Lahaina. I grew up in Lahaina. My mom worked at that building for 40 years, so a lot of memories there. But as we were going through the process after the fire and trying to figure out, how to help the people in our company, we had 350 employees in our company that lost their house. So we have a Legacy of Aloha program, which is our nonprofit part of our restaurants. And as we were very cautious about asking, our friends and family out to help, we were also doing the same, generating through sales. But we did reach out to our, the friends and family around the world. And as though we got so many amazing contributions, we got an amazing letter from a family who had lost their dad. And the letter, I mean, I don't cry very often, but it brought us all to tears as their memories of their dad tied to chemos. And she wrote us a $50,000 check from her family to give to our employees that lost their place. And to me, that's the type of impact that our places make on our communities and the people that come to our places. Because really, it's about people, taking care of people, serving people is an honor. It's not a hardship. We take a lot of pride in service. And so those types of memories, there's a lot of them, but that was a recent one that stuck out. And that's our goal, just keep making memories.
Awesome. Powerful, and I'm blessed to work with you, with Outrigger. Obviously, we're the landlord and partner in both Duke's and Hula Grill, and it's a testament. I think Elliot made the comment earlier about was a priority for him was taking care of people who can take care of the guests, and I know firsthand how many of your hosts have been working with you for decades, so kudos to you. And a little bit of serendipity. I think there were some announcements made in the last panel that weren't public. We do have a public announcement that we're going to be enhancing the Outrigger Kona Resort with a Duke's restaurant opening in the middle of the summer of next year. It's exciting, which is on Kamehameha School land. So a little bit of serendipity here on the panel. So Serge, next question then for you. As someone who works closely with chefs, what do you personally look for in a chef or a concept before committing to make it a part of the larger scale project?
Yeah, thanks, Sean. It's a good question. It's highly dependent on the space and the area, but a great example I would use is a lot of times we look at a chef that's going to create a destination, a theme, and our pinch hitter, Roy, who, if you had a pinch hitter, it'd be like Shohei Ohtani here. I mean, this guy, talk about a pinch hitter. But he, in Hawaii Kai, the original Roy's restaurant, that Roy referenced earlier, that was that created a destination. That was a place that it's essentially an office building that Roy came in and put in his restaurant. Coincidentally, I worked there 30 years ago. I probably served you your crab cakes.
You're awesome.
That was back when I had hair. And that was when Roy was on the line on a nightly basis. It was a lot of fun. But we look for restaurants like that basically draw people to an area and create the energy and bring people to a neighborhood like Hawaii Kai and people want to drive distances to. And that also in a more retail center or a more commercial location, that also helps support the other tenants in the area and brings business to everybody. So that's the kind of destination type restaurant we look for. And also, what's important to us as a Native Hawaiian organization is looking for chefs that support the local economy and support the local producers. They buy local greens, and support the local farmers. And that's also a very important consideration when we look at these chefs and these restaurants that we're working with. And congratulations on it. It's like 38 years now or something like that at Roy's, and that's awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Serge. Clearly, supporting and buying local, big theme of this festival, and certainly something we see growing. Next question for Alana. You've been often described as someone who builds communities, not just buildings. How do restaurant partnerships help create a sense of place within residential projects and strengthen connections across the broader community?
No, thank you. So yeah, I mentioned earlier about Hokua, and when we were developing a development called Kuile Place, which is a 1,000-home, primarily Kamehameha or local focused home condominium in Mo'ili'ili on Kapiolani Boulevard, just mauka of Date and Iolani School. And when we were developing that community, we had the opportunity to bring forward a mixed-use element. And we could have done anything. We could have done retail. We could have we could have just done more residential real estate. But we consciously chose to anchor it with a restaurant because we've seen what a connector that is. And we sought out what we think is one of the best restaurant operators anchoring residential real estate in the Aoki group. And we're incredibly excited to see what they're going to bring forward in those concepts. But part of the reason is we really see it as an incredibly symbiotic relationship where the restaurant locations can give so much to the community that they can just right downstairs have a place to have coffee, entertainment, obviously takeout, and dining. At the same time, really these over 3,000 residents that will live on property can be the backbone of the support to the restaurant to ensure that they'll be successful. And so it's really something that we think is incredibly important and will be a huge part of the community of Kuile Place. But even, it's not just really what's on property. And what we found in marketing the property is that we've been most successful when we actually connect with the broader neighborhood and really talk about all, and primarily F&B, all of the opportunities to dine that are all very close to Kuile. And so we featured Mud Hen Water, Side Street Inn, Rainbow Inn, all these great restaurants, and we've seen such a large response to that connectivity. And even really Market City has been an incredible partner of ours, and to have a walking distance relationship with all those eateries. I mean, Kyla's Cafe, and then again, another local Foodland, which is great. But as we think through going into the future, we're right now so Kuile and Aaliyah are kind of they're in construction. Those are kind of the end of our, as we say, the last cycle of our residential developments, and we are in design on our next cycle or what's coming in the future. But I wanted to actually take one moment, even though the question is more about residential. Also, we again see so much opportunity in food and beverage, and I think it was in the press this morning. So that we're developing. The Vai Ani Ani at the Cove with James Campbell Company, redeveloping the current Paradise Cove luau site. And that will be substantially focused on F&B. And really, we don't have enough F&B where you are on the water, where you are right there. And we're incredibly excited about featuring local partners and creating that anchor to that community as well. But going on to the development we're in now, we're in design. We were actually at our first neighborhood board meeting, which is always fun, on our next development, which is going to be a 5-star hotel mixed with residences and condo hotel, so a truly mixed use. And Elizabeth, I learned so much. I wanted to be taking notes in your presentation, but exactly what you've been saying is what we're seeing, is that we're planning 8 F&B locations in this property because it is so important to have great culinary experiences. It's actually so important, particularly to our international buyers, owners who are not used to the way we all go to sleep at 9 o'clock. They're like, in Tokyo, we go out to dinner at 8:30. So, creating opportunities where they can stay out late, where there's a little entertainment, being thoughtful about where that's placed. I love the movement of speakeasies, because then when you put a late night karaoke location, live karaoke, in down by the kitchen in a nice secret place. You're also not getting any complaints from your residents, which is pretty positive as well. But as we plan, that development, what we really think about is that food and this culinary experiences, they aren't tenants actually, they're partners. They are an amenity. They will be an essential element to the success of the property overall. And we really want to seek out win-win relationships. We want to create an opportunity where that restaurant can be very, very successful, when we can also be successful as well. And of course, that they can really support our residents and our hotel guests to make it, the preferred destination. And so, with that, I think it just reinforces how culinary excellence and hospitality are central to the core sense of place and really what is important and what people are looking for when they come here.
Thanks, Alana.
Feast, Dish, and Dialogue is presented by the Hawaii Ag and Culinary Alliance, the nonprofit organization behind the Hawaii Food and Wine Festival. Founded to strengthen Hawaii's culinary and agricultural industries, HACA connects world-class culinary events with year-round investment in education, workforce development, and local agriculture. Through programs that support students, entrepreneurs, farmers, and hospitality professionals, HACA works to ensure Hawaii's food and hospitality ecosystem continues to grow, innovate, and thrive.
So I think those comments definitely resonate from a developer's perspective. So over to you, Roy. As the chef, though, and the restaurateur, what's been your most rewarding experience working directly with the developer to elevate dining beyond just the restaurant itself and into the identity of the development?
Cheap rent. Hopefully for free. No, I mean, at the end of the day, first thing, when you guys develop those condos, can you make sure that the other condos don't lose their view of Diamond Head? But anyways, aside from that, at the end of at the end of the day, my whole thing's all about, like Alana said, it's a win-win. It's a marriage between tenants and landlords, chefs. So for me, it's always been, how can I get into a space that I can do good, but not good in the sense of good in making money, but doing good for the community. So, because I know that if we do good, we do good for the community, but you have to understand that when we hire our people, we try to get people in those restaurants from the people that live in our community. So, and then we support the people that make up our community. Ranchers, farmers, fishermen. I mean, they're all our neighbors. So at the end of the day, what we want to do is go in somewhere where we have the ability to really showcase what we have and who we are through our food. So we put our personality into our food to make sure that we do justice to who we are, but yet really making sure that we can represent us in the community. So again, if we can get a lower rent, and I know it's, it's twofold, and believe me, I understand where the landlord comes from. There's certain criteria that have to be met, when you work with lenders and all of that stuff. So I understand all of that. But, for me, it's always been, chefs are always very, very passionate about what they do. And, a lot of times chefs don't go into deals thinking about, a lot of different things when it comes to business. And it's their passion that really drives who they are and what they want to accomplish. So, a lot of times I say to myself, God, I wish, landlords can really see what that really is, and not look at money, but look at, what can you do as a team to create a better community? And that's to, let people shine, let the chefs shine through their personality and through their passion into the bigger picture of succeeding as a community rather than just succeeding as a landlord or succeeding as a tenant.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks for your passion. We feel it every time we eat with you. Final question on our speed dating to our friend Dylan. Dylan, a little bit personal, I guess, here. They scripted this. This wasn't for me, but it's a good question. You grew up in Hawaii, as you mentioned before, and you now run restaurants that are deeply tied to the place here. How does your personal connection to culture and community influence the way you shape restaurant experiences for your visitors?
Good question. I think, we're looking for good rent too. No, just joking. Yeah. I think the great thing about what the company I've been a part of is that we've tried and I think do a pretty good job of not having to really create a brand. We have the infrastructure and we have a recipe that our founders came up with, but so much of our brand is already built into the places we're at. So I think, as Roy talked about, a sense of place, and everybody on the panel has, it was really at the core of how the brands are cultivated in the areas. If you take all of them that we have, and I think a lot of people recognize Duke's, that's the most famous one that everybody recognizes, and that's the one that most developers want to put in any space. But we're very conscious that a brand like Duke's, it needs to be in the ocean. I mean, it's representing a person that was connected to the water and all of those things. A place where Duke had been in his life. We're not going to put him somewhere where he's never been or doesn't make sense. So for me, that's a great connection to, what I always say, the easiest thing about creating or having to teach or be part of something in Hawaii is, the advantage you have of being born here or raised here or part of is you don't really have to learn it. It's something that you've been everybody, you grew up at the baseball fields or at the canoe races or at the family gatherings. You know how and what people that are not from here are looking for. And it's all the things that we grew up doing. So that part is easy for me. What is great, I think, over the years is we've been able to bring more people from Hawaii or that have that real great connection to Hawaii up into the ranks in our company, so that is something that you don't have to teach, that they are there to represent and teach those things that are so sacred to us culturally and just environmentally for Hawaii. So I think we just lean into that. I think that's kind of why you don't see our brands anywhere else but Hawaii and California, because California is that natural little jump over the water where people get Hawaii and they love Hawaii. So it's a little easier for us to connect to those people. But really in our current state, having those sense of place type brands that are unique to the communities is basically what we do, and I love that, and it's a big reason why I work for our company.
Great answer, Dylan.
If today's conversation inspires you, we invite you to experience it in person at the Feast Summit, returning Thursday, November 5th, 2026 in Honolulu during the 16th Annual Hawaii Food and Wine Festival. Mark your calendars, tickets go on sale this May. Learn more at hawaiifoodandwinefestival.com.
A typical, very humble response from someone that's been with the company, very successful for many years. And it starts at the top. For those of you who don't know, Dylan's boss, Jackie Reed, actually started in the company as a server. I don't know exactly when she started, but she's been with the company for obviously for decades. So again, super authentic, starts at the top and cascades down. So huge, really appreciate that. We have a couple minutes for, I think we're to audience questions. We got a great audience, so thanks everybody for joining us today at this inaugural Feast event. Elizabeth, come and join us. So there's mics in the center, or you can come up to the front. If you have any questions for our esteemed panel, obviously our keynote speaker, happy to answer any questions that you guys may have. There's got to be a few out here with this audience group. So help us with a couple questions, and then we'll get over to lunch. We have one here.
Hi, I was just thinking about how Roy and Dylan, you mentioned these historical figures that you connected some of the restaurant, or that some of the restaurants are connected to, like Eating House or Duke's. And I was just wondering how you think about the storytelling and if that's changing over time in any way.
I'll do it real fast. So for Eating House, it was Peter Fernandez, back in 1849, supposedly opened his first restaurant. Yeah, actually, he was over by, Bishop Street, around where First Wine Bank is. But, I said to myself, I wonder what Peter would have said, back in 1849. And so I said to myself, and Craig, you can help me, what's the phrase that I put up there?
Happy wife, happy life.
So I put happy wife, happy life in Portuguese. Anyways, that's my story. You don't have to be creative, sometimes, dumb minds go far.
Oh yeah, just real quick, I would say, as time goes by, the more people that weren't even alive when somebody like Duke was alive, and the farther you get away from, people connecting to things like that. Not all our brands are connected that way, but so it's incumbent upon us to do our part. I think, lots of people are doing a good job of doing documentaries on Duke or Bishop Museum, or Outrigger does things that way. So it's really on us to keep that going forward. And really, it's stories and it's the history, but it's really just what was the essence of the person. And if we can keep pushing that forward, that aloha spirit, especially from Duke, ambassador of aloha to the world, basically. So he gave us that gift, which isn't a hard one to pass on, as long as you're doing it with the right spirit, I think.
Any other questions from the audience? If not, I have one for you, Elizabeth. So it's great to see your presentation, all the different destinations that you guys are consulting in, working in. Is there one that sticks out that says, wow, this is something new, innovative, that's going to stand the test of time? It's going to last for decades and potentially influence the entire region where this new concept is coming?
Well, I always think the last one is when I had the great fortune to open Bellagio. I thought, wow, this is it. This is a career culmination. But I really do think that the when Ras Al Khaimah, which is one of the Emirates in the UAE, so it'll be the first integrated resort destination in the Middle East with gambling. So there's gambling and alcohol, so it certainly will be interesting on so many cultural levels, but it's a $5 billion project, and it has more than 25 food beverage outlets, and it's really spectacular, but it's taking an emirate that was on the ocean, natural beauty, but not a tourist destination, and so just watching what's happened to the real estate. I mean, there's 8,000 new hotel keys from, a myriad of brands. There's probably more than 8,000 residential apartments and condominiums that are being built. So to watch in real time such a dramatic transformation by anchoring with one resort is truly an extraordinary thing to watch, and then to be appropriate culturally on so many levels, but yet certainly pushing boundaries from what has been happening in the past. So it's exciting.
Look forward to visiting. Any other questions? If not, I wanted to give a big mahalo to our panel, to our keynote speaker, Elizabeth.
Mahalo for listening to Feast, Dish, and Dialogue. If you enjoyed this conversation, subscribe and share it with someone passionate about food, agriculture, and hospitality. To learn more about the Feast Summit and the Hawaii Food and Wine Festival, visit hawaiifoodandwinefestival.com. Be sure to join us for the next episode of Feast, Dish, and Dialogue.